And that's what he did. He went all around and learned how everybody does it. And then he saw he didn't like it that way. So then he switched to the non-treatment. So, but he had the knowledge of how to keep bees. Then he had to work in how to keep them without giving them chemicals. And not every treatment is a chemical, because oxalic acid is a organic treatment, which is, it's from the earth.
Right.
So, and the thymol on the, to the formic mighty waste strips, and the Apigard is thymol. So I think there's only, well, they took checkmate.
It's off, yeah.
Right. It's illegal now. And that was a chemical, and they got burnt out on it. And then there's another one, Apivar, and it has something in it. Starts, I can't remember. Anybody know what Apivar has in it? But it doesn't matter. But that's a type of chemical, but it's not a harsh chemical like the checkmate. So okay, we switched our dates up a little while, or a little bit. So I asked Kathy, because there is, bee season is in full force for me, and I am falling behind on my PowerPoint for honey production. So that will probably be the very last one that we do. So Kathy's going to do this one, and then Shanna's going to do pollination, and then Debbie and Bethany are they're going to do wax, and then I'll do the honey one, and then we'll meet together, and bring your questions to the one that I am going to do, because I'll do the last one. And then if you guys want to meet the next Thursday, we can definitely do that, just to go over some things that you're concerned about, or you're not real sure of. That's what we're here for, is to help you guys understand, especially the newbies, and the ones that are going into second year. They kind of have a little little bit of a grip, but they're still way out there. So that's what we're here for, and that's how we'll wrap up our beekeeping class. So I'm going to let Kathy introduce herself, and what her presentation's about, and how long she's been a beekeeper, and where she lives.
Okay. I started out as a gardener and got bees for my garden. So I've always been a backyard beekeeper. I got my first hive after doing some research. My first hive I got in 2005. So I've had hives, except for 2 years, that whole time. 2, 3 at the max. This year I'm going to go for 4. I'm going to be doing, I live in Frankfort, West Virginia, which is Greenbrier County, so I'm southeast. I have lots of dandelions in my yard. I'm going to do floral resources, and that's going to be on page, if you have the digital book, but I'll have everything up on page 80 and 81. Now, if you give me a second, I have to go get my PowerPoint.
Okay, can I ask you guys to mute yourself, please, so Kathy doesn't hear any background noise?
I may not be able to share this yet. Check this.
While she's setting herself up, anybody have any questions?
Debbie, I was just wondering if you could share links to those books that you were
Should be
going
up
to do
now.
the studies on.
The next books,
Yeah,
Yeah, I will. I'll
Can you-
post it.
You
thank you.
put it in the chat maybe.
Where is it? Where is it? Should be up. There we go. Floral resources. I'm gonna get rid of you guys. Okay, we're doing floral resources. I'm gonna start out by explaining floral resources, which is a lot of people don't even understand this. It's honey production and colony development are directly related to the floral resources in the immediate area of your apiary. There's major nectar flows, sometimes termed as honey flows, and there's a few plants that yield nectar abundantly and readily available. Besides the 2 or 3 main annual sources, there should be a great variety of minor plants yielding both pollen and nectar throughout the season to support your colonies between the honey flows. So it's good to have major and minor in your yards. Large acreages of flowering plants are needed for bees to produce surplus honey. Planting crops just for their nectar and pollens is not usually economical. An acre of blooming plants rarely provides surplus honey for more than 1 or 2 colonies of bees. The value of land not being used for other purposes can be increased. If it is planted to some nectar yielding plants such as sweet clover rather than left to grass and weeds. Beekeepers should be familiar with the major floral sources in their area and when these are in bloom. From a standpoint of honey production, most populous colonies produce the most honey. Thus, essence of spring management is the development of strong colonies. Efficient management requires proper timing of colony developed so you maximum population. The Mid-Atlantic region has many pollen producing. So one of the things I want to recommend is to be able to identify one of the most important things that people do not realize when it comes to your honey's nectar and pollen flows are trees. I'm going to show you an app I use later on that shows you can actually point to a bark and it'll tell you what that tree is. So you want to start to understand what's valuable and what's not valuable. And if you're smart, you'll start realizing after you see what these bees feed off of, you won't be killing as many weeds as you used to. So we have a list of all these different kinds of, some are major. You'll see in the beginning, we have the elm, the willow, crocus. Crocus come out early, and crocus actually is a major pollen source. Dandelions, which is everywhere right now. Your bees are getting pollen and nectar from them. Fruit trees, wild cherry trees, they're everywhere. I'm going to show you different pictures. Oh, I have my favorite book is I'm going to show you afterward. It's called Feed the Bees. It's from the Exorcist Society. It's 100 plants just to feed your bees. But in the book, these are the ones that they're identifying. Holly trees are incredible. Tulip popular, all the willows, pussy willows, weeping willows, all the weeds. And we're going to go through it. I'm going to I'm going to show you trees first. You're going to start to recognize what trees are and what you can use. Bee vocabulary, perfect. The American birch tree. Basswood. Basswood is a major. Here's my basswood. That's a major in nectar, not pollen, but nectar. And they're everywhere. You learn to recognize the leaves. When in doubt, Google everything. It's just amazing. It's amazing what you can learn just from Googling different trees. Does it feed my bees? This shows you different examples of the different fruits. Let's see what's next. Next I have locust. Now locust is our first tree in the springtime for us major honey flow. That and what, basswood maybe, but this one is incredible and it's everywhere. You'll see these leaves everywhere in this tree and they have little thorns on them. And they filled my all my boxes last year with delicious honey. I walk around my yard and just take pictures of different barks to find out what's growing there. We have how to identify a wild cherry tree. A wild cherry tree, they're everywhere too, and they're terrific. Wild cherry. That's a major too. And then we have the cottonwoods, cottonwood honey. Black locust is a major. I love that. Cottonwood's a major too. Maple leaves. Everybody, I'll tell you, as soon as the maple, bees love maple trees. And there's all different kinds of maples. You've got your striped, broadleaf, black, mountain, sycamore. Sycamore trees, you see them everywhere. They have all the white barks. You see them all close to the water and everything. And when you're driving down the road, red maples, silver maples, bees love them. Then we have the tulip. Tulip popular is another major nectar flow. Identifying leaves. That's the hackleberry, and that's just that's a minor source, but that keeps them fed. Gives them minor pollen, minor nectar, but they don't make honey for us, but they make honey for themselves. Gets them through different feedings. Oh, now we're gonna get into my favorite, the weeds. I love weeds. This is a cabbage weed, skunk cabbage. It's just a minor, if you look at these pictures, you've seen them growing everywhere and you just want to pull them up. But it's a minor food source for your bees. You see these, I just love, this is a canola. It's called the canola. Another weed. Isn't you? I don't know about you, but this yellow rocket, I see this everywhere, and I used to pull it up all the time, and now I don't. And then we have the sweet clovers, the yellow clover, it's everywhere. Sweet white clover, it comes in white, it comes in yellow. You'll see the leaves. I tend to dip. This is blue weed. See, I'm not from around here. When I saw your weeds, I started transplanting them in my yard. My first house, I transplanted poison ivy by accident. So I dig up weeds a lot. Now this is I see everywhere. The Vicia. It's a salvia. It's so pretty, but this grows everywhere. It's whimsical. Next, I have the bird's foot. Bird's foot is another weed. It's another minor, but the bees love it. Thistle. Thistle is everywhere. I love to say thistle. It's another common weed. different varieties of it. Wild carrot. Wild carrot, it grows in the cracks and crevices all over the place. It gets little white flowers. I think sometimes we call it Queen Anne's lace. It's the same thing. It's got the greens of a carrot. It's got the roots of a carrot real thin, but it also has these really nice Queen Anne lace flowers to them. The milkweeds. I am in the process of trying to grow many of these. They're taking me a while, but not only do the bees like them, the butterflies like them. So, you know, you take care of all your pollinators. But the milkweeds are beautiful. Right now I have the butterfly, the common, the showy, and another one. Oh, and the butterfly. The butterfly is my favorite. There's more of the green milkweed. They're beautiful. Chicory. Chicory is everywhere. It grows in cracks and crevices. It grows in my driveway. It's a beautiful little plant. Some more thistle. It's called a knapweed. Knapweed, I thought it was all thistle. It's in the bachelor button family. It's an invasive, it grows everywhere. I circled the one in the corner because I see this growing everywhere. It's another it's called smartweed, but it provides pollen to the bees. Pennsylvania smartweed's a lot bushier, but this one right here in the corner, I see it growing everywhere. They call it the medical plant. Next is the clover, the red clover. See it red, you'll see it pink, you'll see it white. It's really very pretty, and people actually plant it on purpose. More like the bachelor buttons, the bee balm, wild Baragot. I think they're pretty. They grow everywhere. People grow bee balm. I love growing bee balm. The bees do like it. Obviously, that's how it got its name. My favorite, my absolute favorite is the Joe Pye weed. Joe Pye weed grows to almost 6 feet tall. It likes moist areas. Bees absolutely love it. It grows on the side of the roads all throughout West Virginia. I keep the bucket in my truck and I dig it up and plant it in my yard. I have quite a bit of this in my yard right now. It is my favorite because bees go crazy on it. Isn't that beautiful? And then we have goldenrod, the end of the season goldenrod. There's 3 different kinds. There's an early goldenrod. So I think the very first one you see, the bees aren't really attracted to. It's the third one that comes out, that's their favorite. Which gives, and this is a major nectar right there. This is what gets us through the winter. That's why we had such a problem with the dearth last year, because we did not have this. And that's all my pictures. So.
Those are beautiful. Good job.
Thank you. I'll take
Thank
questions.
you.
Yeah. Let me,
Couple questions. So that goldenrod, you know,
Yeah.
so you said like the first one they're not attracted to. Is that a different plant or just blooms differently?
it's a different variety. There's 3 varieties of the goldenrod. And when it first comes out, you'll notice that the bees aren't really getting on it. But then as the next kind, because they seem to grow in clumps, you'll see
Yeah.
that you'll see that they're more attracted to one goldenrod than another. It's because it's actually a different species.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I've got like the first one that they're not attracted to, like in my yard. But yeah, and you also talked about the clovers.
Yes.
So I actually, I mean, I don't have a lot of land, right? So, but I have like, like half an acre and like, and when the bees, like, the dandelions and the clovers, just in the grass is growing, I don't cut it anymore, right? It's like, no, we have to like,
Well, you'll notice with dandelions and clove, when you cut it, it
Yeah.
comes right back up again. Because I cut
Yeah.
my weeds, but they all come up. Right now, my driveway is covered in dandelions. I don't use chemicals anyway, so I just
Mhm.
let them go. But because of the bees, I don't even try to burn them or anything.
right. But like, just like the clover and the grass, right? I
Yes.
mean, and I'm trying to think if it actually flowers. I guess it does. If you let it go. I mean, like
Yes.
that's the same
Well,
clover, right?
it gets that really pretty little puff, it looks like in the picture.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
but like yours was purple,
this.
mine's white, but yeah,
Yeah, I have a white, it's got like a little green in it.
yeah. Okay.
Now,
And again, that's about all I can do is let it go. I'm trying to plant some more flowers type, that they like, but
Well, a lot of the
can't-
stuff you actually, if you're better off not pulling the weed, and you'll have a lot more
Mhm.
resources for your bees.
Okay.
And so people don't realize. Like when I first moved here, somebody said, "Oh, you don't want ironweed. It's really invasive." Well,
Yeah.
bees love ironweed, and it's a pretty blue purple plant. I like it, so I plant it.
Yeah, okay.
and the goldenrod, there's 60 species of
Okay.
goldenrod. So, and
Yes.
Janda was up here, our first retreat, and she found 4 just right here on my property.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's
And
3 major here.
yeah, and the clover, they say that they don't like the red that much. They get on it, but they like the white better, and the crimson clover.
Do you know what sedum is?
No, I'm not a
Sedum
flower person.
sedum looks like it's not a weed, but sedum is a really pretty plant you put in your garden that looks like a succulent almost, and then it gets these big clusters of flowers.
Hmm.
I gotta tell you, bees go crazy over that stuff.
Huh. How do you spell that?
Crazy.
SEDUM, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard, so I could probably like plant some of that.
You could
Kathy,
plant some.
in your introduction, that's the same reason I got bees, and I have 2 because like my garden. It's like they weren't
Yeah,
getting
but stuff like
pollinated.
you plant sedum and they'll go crazy for it.
Okay,
Does it matter
What
what
about-
color?
No, sedum only has one color.
No, this is autumn
Really?
joy sedum, creeping red sedum. There's kind of
Okay.
puke pink, red.
The
Purple.
puke peak, the real pale pink one is the one I have in my yard, and they come back all by themselves every year and they get bigger. But
Oh, that's what I have at the end of my driveway. Great big bush, and you brought me some.
yeah,
Yes. Okay. Yeah, mine's a puke pink.
yeah, but
And they do love it. Yeah.
they love it. And then in the fall, the flower actually dries out to a brown, and I've actually put it in a dried arrangement. It's so cool looking.
Oh, uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
But really, I think the biggest thing that people should remember is trees are the biggest food sources for your bees.
What about your forsythia bush? Is that native to West Virginia?
And I think, it's got to be native because it's everywhere, but that's not a big source for the bees.
It's not.
No, you won't see bees on it.
We had bees when I was a kid. On the corners of our house, there was these bushes. They got a really pretty little tiny white flower on them. And I mean, they would be covered with bees. I mean, to the point where the bushes would buzz. And they was along the size of a forsythia bush. It would have been something that would have made a nice hedge, and I don't know what they was called. And I'd love
Probably privet. It sounds like privet. Little white flowers in it and a shiny leaf.
yeah. And
the
then
hedging,
at
it's
certain
probably-
times of year, it's just green. There's no flower.
That's a privet.
Is that native to West Virginia here?
Yeah, it grows that grows in all kinds of different zones. It's very, very hardy. People trim it up, square it off, make hedges out of it.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm looking. I'm not one for those, the ones that take the bumblebees get on all the time.
It's about everything.
They're purple, they're white, everybody azaleas. I can't stand azalea bushes. I like these bushes on the corners. I didn't like my azaleas.
I'll tell you something that the bees really go crazy for. My next door neighbor down below me had Russian sage. And she says, she says, you got to come down here and see that. There was like thousands of bees all in her Russian sage. You can't plant, you won't be able to find Russian sage until like July or August. Phyllis gets one from me soon.
Oh,
Would you
I
say
have
that?
one for, pardon me?
Would you say the other one was?
Russian,
How do you spell
Russian
it?
sage.
Russian
they-
sage,
Huh?
Russian sage, S-A-G-E. And the bushes will get, they remind me of lavender. They're purple and they're bushy and they, they'll go dormant every winter and they come back bigger every year. They're beautiful. The bees love them.
Making notes.
What was that? I lost internet. What
It
was
was
the big
Russian-
purple plant?
Russian sage.
Russian
It's
sage.
absolutely gorgeous. And it gets bigger every year. It's a perennial and the bees go wild over it. It reminds me of a lavender. It's the same color and bush size. No, it gets bigger than my lavender, so.
Do you know anything about plants that aren't good for the bees? Like I read somewhere the other day that
You froze.
What about salvia?
Salvia, they like salvia too. Yes. I know that for a fact.
Anything that you should avoid?
No, I have winter jasmine in my yard and I was afraid of it last year, but I find that if they don't like it, they're not going to get near it.
And they don't do rhododendron unless it's the only thing that's blooming. And the Rick spoke with a person about it, and Veronica says internet keeps kicking her off. There she is. And
I'm back again.
Veronica, was you asking about rhododendron?
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't like it, and
Right.
they will only use it if that's the only source that they have available to them. And the honey is disgusting. So I haven't tasted it, but we were told by an older beekeeper. So, because we have it, we live at Dolly Sods and we have it everywhere. And so far, they've never had to use it. So, luckily.
It's everywhere. Sunflower. Bees, it's a minor source, but bees love it. Sunflower is so easy to grow.
There's certain types of sunflowers, though. Not all sunflowers bees enjoy. And we had this discussion last year, remember? And Sue Olson knows the type of sunflowers to buy. Well,
What
we'll
was
get
it? Because I know they don't like the mammoths.
It's olive rush or something.
So, all right, we have like 30 minutes. Does anybody have any questions or you can
Oh,
keep
that's right, we do.
poking at Kathy. So, but do you have any, like, is there anything that you have heard about that you want to discuss that we haven't brought to your attention? Like maybe from other classes that you've been to and we just haven't, because it's so hard for us to show like equipment and things, which I'm going to try when I do my part. And because you can't, if you're screen sharing, you can't say, here it is. So you have to wait until you're finished and then you have to show it. So is there anything that you would like to see that maybe one of us has it, or take that as a no?
I wanted to say, different from the schedule, Shanda will be here next week, the 7th, doing labels for those that was asking for the label show. Shanda's going to give a PowerPoint.
Okay.
In the
and
middle,
then-
in the middle of
Go
my
ahead, Kathy.
screen, I have the app in the middle. It looks like it's white with
Wait,
green
dot
leaves.
net?
Yeah, it's PlantNet.
PlantNet.
Plant-
Okay.
PlantNet. And it's really nice because once you take a picture of your plant, you can do flower or bark. It's not
Mhm.
100%, it's great with trees, with the barks of the trees and the leaves of the trees.
How much is that now a month? There for
It's
a while.
free. It's free.
Oh, is there a free one?
Yes. And then here's the book I was telling you about.
I have that one and it is wonderful.
It's the, I can't say the name, the Exorcist Society.
Sure.
Close enough.
It's a good one. I have that.
It's a great book. It's 100 plants to feed the bees. They're all pollinators.
Does it by chance show which one the deers will also enjoy?
I think
So you
so.
know not to get
Doesn't
those.
it?
Some of them
Um,
do tell you what deers like and deer don't like.
I know it has bees. Does it have deer on there too?
Now, I was reading it every once in a while.
Maybe it's
They'll say,
butterflies.
they'll tell you that it's not popular with deer. But this is a great book.
There's I just got a seed catalog and it's called, I think it's Beck or Breck.
Rick.
And
Mhm.
all through there, they have what deer won't eat and what bees like. I was pretty impressed with it. I've never heard
Yeah.
of them before.
No, I got one of those last year and that's what I was just looking through all my seed catalogs to see, and I don't have it. Because it
okay.
did, you're right, it had deer and it had,
Yeah, well, you could probably
bees
get it
and
on the
butterflies.
website.
yeah.
Yeah. Flower had deer. They have a pot flower, and then the bee. So it
Yeah,
tells you
that's good to know.
Breck.
A good
Correct.
trick to keeping your deer off of stuff is to spray it with powdered milk. If you can come across any powdered milk, like sometimes people have.
Hmm.
Outside my vegetable garden, I grow castor oil because I don't like castor oil. And they
Ah.
get big,
Huh. Now, does it get really big, Kathy?
really big.
Okay, so I couldn't, like, around, Kathy brought me all these plants, and then Brenda brought me 2 dogwoods, and one they pulled up from the roots and ate it, and the other one so far is living. So it would smother out my dogwood if I did that.
Well, I always thought they would be good around your high tunnel. They're easy to
Okay.
grow. They're an annual.
Mm.
And they
So you
also say you can put the seeds in the holes and it'll kill the
Moles,
moles
What
and
kind of
moles.
plant was that? What kind are you talking about?
castor.
Castor oil. I have pictures of it. It's beautiful. I mean, I grew up when I first moved here, because I needed a plant real fast and I know how big it gets. But it's a dark green with purple underlined. It's pretty.
But were you saying an acre of flowers won't even feed a hive?
It'll feed 2 hives.
2 hives. But who has an acre of blooming flowers? Nobody.
Not even me.
Out in
My aunt does.
out in
And those
North and South
locusts-
Dakota, they do have
That's
fields
true.
and fields of them.
That's true. Now those
Um,
locust trees grow they grow under, they're the type of tree that grows out from their roots underneath the ground. So if you pull them out or knock them down, and don't get all of the root, you'll have locust trees popping up everywhere.
Yes,
Mm,
I have
that's a-
them. My whole tree line is locust.
Yeah.
And berry.
Mm.
And they don't hit every year either.
No.
We
No, but
we were
last year-
colder here last year, and ours hits in June. and 3 miles, but you have to go out and around to get to that 3 miles, but it's probably just a mile and a half maybe to my bees. And the locust stopped at my bees, and none of us back here, our locust hit. It didn't hit.
Mm.
That was really weird. And they didn't get that much off of it. So hopefully this year will be a good year. And poplar, it's hit and miss. If you have a rainy spring, then the problem with poplar, it sits up like this, the flower, and so the rain just fills it. Where sourwood and locust, their blooms are like this.
They hang
So
down, right.
yeah, the rain doesn't, damage that. But poplar, I mean, when you get it, it's priceless. When you get a good poplar season, it's wonderful because it's so hard, and it is like every other year as well.
What about sumac?
I don't know
Yeah.
anything about sumac.
Yes, they do like sumac.
Okay.
That's the ones with the red
Yeah.
thing hanging.
Well,
Yeah.
yes. Tree of heaven.
Yeah, that
Smooth
wanna-
sumac. They're minors, but they do feed on sumac.
Has anybody tasted the honey, the nectar that they're bringing in right now through the maple and the willow? No?
Mm.
We were in our hives yesterday, and I dug in some that was open nectar, and man, was it floral. I've never tasted anything like it before. It was good. I mean, it wasn't anything, but not to my liking. I wouldn't want a whole 5-gallon bucket of it. But next time you're in there, if you're not feeding them, dip you out some and take a taste, see what you think.
Phyllis,
Yeah.
feed them.
Yes, that's in. Yeah, we
Yes.
were back when we were taking care of houses out in the ski area. She said, "Get that out of here." So we did, and we brought it home, and I planted it, and it's beautiful. So
I got 2 different kinds of bees in this picture, a native and honeybee on it.
now, is it
Like,
is the other one white? White
I
and,
only-
and pink? Oh no, I saw it. Duh, it was red and purple, and the ones that I found on the internet.
Right, in fact, in that conference, one of the pictures that was a picture of sedum with bees on it as in the contest.
Okay. Okay. Yes, they do love it. And actually they favor that more than the bumblebees do. So if you didn't,
Yes.
I think Cheryl, if you didn't want, I don't see her on here. Yeah, there she is. If you didn't want the
Oh,
bees, then you could do, Joe Pa. And
Yep.
I'm gonna plant some of that.
I love it. I go around digging it up.
Well, we only have a section across the river, and that's all I've ever seen down here. There might be some where I can't find it, but
If I go
so we need
go
more.
into the state forest, it's growing on the side of the roads and everywhere else.
You're not allowed to take from
I-
state forest.
I didn't dig from there. I was coming out of work at Greenbrier one
This is
time,
being recorded.
and it was on the side of the road at Greenbrier, and I just jumped out of my truck, and I was still dressed for work in a suit, and I was digging it up. Completely
I
nuts.
drive by a beautiful wineberry plant on the side of the road every year, and I always want to try to stop in the spring and propagate it, but I feel I'm too chicken that someone's gonna
Do it in
like,
the evening,
just take-
maybe.
Just take a branch. I do that all the time. My husband thinks I'm nuts. Pull over. Why?
Well,
Just
if
wanna take-
If it's beside the road, your taxes pay for 15 feet from the middle of the road. So just
I forage the berries, and nobody has ever stopped me or said anything. Just clip a piece of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it grows great wine berries. Mm.
Mm,
Yeah, it sounds like it needs to be yours.
It
does.
does.
That's awesome. I am not a flower person because I've had allergies all my life. So it's like, oh, I hate them. I hate them. And now that I've had bees for going on 17 years, I've really enjoyed them. I have no idea what families I'm learning. My favorite's the mints because they come in such a diverse, there's just so many of them, and chocolate mint is my favorite. If you guys haven't tasted or smelled that, it's like buy you some.
Well, all the wild mint around here, the bees go crazy for.
Yeah, that's a wood mint.
Huh?
It's a
talking-
wood mint, wooden
Okay.
mint, maybe. Yeah,
Mountain,
and then
mountain. mint? Are you talking about
mountain mint, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And mine started with 6 plants down here, and now it's probably 6 feet wide. So it does, but that, I mean, I've let it go wild because I want my whole bank covered so I don't have to weed eat it.
Yep.
So, yep. I'm trying.
What about like St. John's wort that grows wild around here, and is it called Mulan? That biannual that looks like a lamb's ear but shoots up a big yellow.
It's
Lamb's
it's,
ear, that's
it's
not
not
a bee.
Mulan. It's
What's it
It's lamb's
called?
ear.
Mullen.
Mullen. It's
Mullen.
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 Yeah.
Mullen.
Yes.
Good for respiratory.
Yes.
the
Mullen's
bee-
wonderful. There's not anything on a mullen plant you cannot use
Do
in
the bees
life.
like it?
I don't know.
I don't
That
think
would
so.
be a Google.
That would be a good one.
I had a wild one just come up in my chicken coop, and and the bees loved it.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, yeah? Okay, there you go.
It was yellow. I don't know what colors they are, but this one was yellow.
And we put in our road up to our high tunnel, and Rick just threw stuff there, the dirt. And so all this, I don't know if you guys remember, Kathy, Debbie, when we were walking up to the high tunnel, we had all that shoot was all herbal, and it just flew in. You know, I didn't plant anything, and but I have not found one mullein on my property. But where our new bee yard is, he has it all over in the yard, right beside that bee yard. So very excited for that.
My birds have planted cantaloupe in all over my yard, weird
Yeah.
places the last 3 years. Okay,
Oh,
this
sure.
is probably 3 seeds, but that is a castor oil. That's how big I can get them.
Oh,
You
okay.
can get them small. You can make them grow them smaller in pots, or just one single one. But they're absolutely gorgeous because they're red and purple.
How do you transplant? Can you do it with a leaf? I mean, with a stem, or do
No,
you have to
I-
root it?
It's all by seed. That it has red. It gets these red clusters, which are seeds, and I
Okay.
always save them for the following year. We were
Okay.
talking about seeds that you can put them in the holes for your moles because it's
Hmm.
castor oil.
I'm gonna have to get me some of that then.
I have lots of seeds. Don't worry about it. I have
Okay.
a million castor oil seeds.
Spring Phyllis castor oil seeds, and amongst other things. She, by the time I quit beekeeping, she will have this place just full of beautiful flowers. So, which, because I don't know my flowers, it's like, eh. And then I buy something, and, no, don't buy it, don't buy it. I've got it in my yard.
Well, we were talking about the Russian sage, and that can be expensive to buy. I said, don't worry, I got little babies. My neighbor dug me up a bunch of babies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And now this is off topic, but I guess if it blooms, a bee could like it. But I've been up since 3:30 this morning, and I couldn't sleep. My arm was hurting. And so I watched YouTube, and how expensive sweet potato slips are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you take a he did them 3 ways, and I'll just tell you the way that he did the best way. But take a juice jar or can, or plastic container, and cut it in half so you have like 2 boats, and then you fill it full of dirt, like seed dirt, and you put your potato in there, and you water it and put it in the sun in your window for about 2 weeks, and those little slips start growing. And he had probably about, I don't know, probably about 8 on one potato. So there you go. And he
Wow.
just took that, and one of them was off to the side, and it had major roots on it. So
Oh, wow.
yeah. So if you want to do your sweet potatoes, and that's how you can get your slips.
Cool.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It's pretty cool. So, but
Well, all of your herbs, thyme, rosemary, they love them all.
Mhm.
Oregano, I let my oregano go to seed. They start going after that.
basil, they love basil.
They love basil.
Hmm.
They love borage too.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, yes they
Yeah.
do. Yep. And that was Debbie's picture at the conference. Some borage. Hmm.
I'm surprised they even
What?
like clematis.
Don't know what that is.
Which picture won at the conference? I left before they announced it.
I don't know.
It was John Welty's sunflower, right,
Okay.
Was
Debbie?
it some, with a bee on it?
Yeah, big flower, one little bee. No, I don't remember. Debbie, do you remember?
That's all that I remember of it. It was a sunflower.
Yeah.
But it was pointed out to me, one of the picture submissions wasn't a bee. It was a fly. It was a type of
Right.
fly that looks
Right.
like a bee, but it wasn't a bee.
No.
I don't know how that happened.
Well, all of your brambles, the bees love all the brambles too.
Bramble.
Blackberry,
Oh
berry
yeah, right.
all the brambles.
Hmm.
And of course, you get in your garden and you get melons and stuff like that. They even get nectar off of corn, even though corn is not pollinated by bees. They still like to get the nectar from it.
Right, right.
Is it true
Yeah.
that honeybees don't pollinate tomatoes?
They don't.
I heard they don't.
Yeah,
don't.
that bumblebees do, but
Bumblebees
honeybees
do.
Bumblebees were definitely in our tomatoes in our high tunnel this year.
Yes.
And I saw our honeybees more on like our zucchini plants and
Yeah.
things like that.
Squashes.
Peppers. Yeah. Hmm.
Interesting.
It is. Yeah. But you want pollination and you can't beat a bumblebee. I know beekeepers that, don't like them. Sorry, Cheryl, if this is you, but they're amazing little creatures. If you take
Yes, they
time to
are.
watch them, and they'll just hang out like in our high tunnel. They'll just hang out, and they're so smart compared to the honeybee. The honeybee, they're like, how do I get out? How do I get out? And the bumblebee's like, follow me, follow me. It's just truly amazing. And we had a lot of bumblebees in our high tunnel, and compared to honeybees, and the honeybees always go up, and and the bumblebees just go right out the side doors. So
Well, explain something to me. Last summer, the bumblebees, those little ones, were everywhere on my plants more than the honeybees. All the plants that you're all talking about, that the
Yeah.
ones I have, the bumblebees, and it was those little tiny ones were just everywhere. And it's almost like the honeybees are like, no, not getting on there. There's too many of them. I could not figure that out.
well, now a honeybee will hit something at a different time than the bumblebee. Like I did buckwheat one time.
Right.
I just scattered some and left it alone, and they hit it in the morning, and then the bumblebees and the wasps and everything else in life had it for the rest of the day. So
Right.
when you do that, go in at different times of the day and see. And I mean, it may not change, but I did learn that.
Well, I learned that with the buckwheat because I couldn't figure out why the honeybees weren't on my buckwheat the first year I had the hive.
Yeah.
And then my
Yeah.
mentor said, go in the morning. And I went early in the morning and they were
Yeah.
down there. But last year we looked at like different times of the day and there just weren't as many honeybees on there as the bumblebees.
Well,
Well,
you can look at something else as they didn't need that. So they had something else out there.
Yeah,
Yep.
that could be.
Yeah.
That could be.
I know with my butterfly bushes, I get a lot of different things, all kinds of different native pollinators. Oh, I have the
What were those hummingbird? What are they called?
hummingbird
Moths.
moth.
I had those
those-
out there. I've never seen those before. That and the bumblebees again, and the butterflies on those, but the
And,
honeybees. not
and
been on them.
a smaller native bee was on them too. My honeybees weren't on them, but the honeybees were everywhere else. You know, they were down the goldenrod. They're up in the trees.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Phyllis is right. They probably don't need where you see the bumblebees. They
Right.
don't need that first.
I was told also that if, like, we live in, we have forest all around us, and that's where I would say 90% of our honey comes from is
Mhm.
from the trees. And they said that they will much rather go to a tree before they would go to a flower.
Yes.
I don't know. I was just told that. So, but
That's what I understand too.
mhm.
I know the bumblebees, before I got into honeybees, I would be like working my flower garden and everything, and they would be right in your face. I'm like, look, I'm not hurting your flower. I'm just pulling the weeds.
Right.
And I was always like, they were always so calm. They usually didn't
Mhm.
bother you. Whereas the honeybees will get a little feisty with me.
Right.
But I've
Yep.
always said that to the I'm always like, Bumble, hey, I'm not taking your flower. Just leave me alone. They're like, okay.
I'm glad. You need to come and work in the high tunnel with me, Terry, because I go through and talk to bumblebees and bees all the time. And then I'm after the little, the little white. I've probably said this because I'm learning. I've raised chickens and goats and sheep and stuff like that. Flowers and plants, I'm learning. So, but this beautiful little white butterfly. And it's like, oh, look, it's on my plant. They're so pretty. And then I got these little worms. And I was like, oh, you SOB, get off of there. Bam, and I don't know how many I killed and how many I chased around. I'm going to get me a net this year.
It's like
I
with
did that the
cantaloupe.
first year too. I was so excited for the little butterflies. flitting
Yeah,
all
you were
around
doing
the
right
bed.
for him, right?
Oh my gosh, no way.
When you get the cabbages and you have your cabbage, you'll see all the white, they're the ones that make the squash vine borers. So what I
Right.
do to combat things like that is in the early spring, when you first plant these kind of plants that get, yes, you cover them until they get big and strong.
We just
And then
got
take it.
we just got netting, so that's what we're
Yes.
gonna do. Yep.
I do that with my Brussels sprouts. I do it with my eggplant because
Good.
my eggplant gets
Flea beetles.
Please.
yes.
I
So if I
won't do
cover
it.
them up until the plant starts to get big enough, then I can just use insecticidal soap and they can take it. But until they get big and strong, I cover them.
Do you
I
cover them
did.
with that white gauze stuff? Is that what you cover
Yes.
with?
It's a cover crop. It's a cover, but rain gets through it and sunlight gets through it.
Mhm.
And I bought some. Well, you can make your own hoops, but I bought some recently because my hoops I made didn't work out too well.
I covered my berry plants with, we made a homemade thing, but I covered it with netting just to keep the birds out. I mean, the
Yeah,
bees.
that's
Right.
what we
on
do
there,
with
but-
our blueberry.
And these giant, show you these giant, like, the beetles that get in the beetle traps, like giant
Japanese
beetles. They're
beetle?
like the size of a quarter. I don't know what they are, but they are dang nasty. They will even get caught in bird netting. They're that big.
Oh
And
wow.
I flip them. I'm like, you're gone. I don't know what they are, but they're big greenish beetles. They're-
Shiny green.
Yes. What are
That's
they?
that Japanese beetle. You know what that's coming from? It's coming from your grubs.
Mhm.
Yes,
Your
we have
grubs
tons
turn
of-
into Japanese beetles and then they go back in at the end of the season.
Even the big ones they're big ones because the
Mhm.
Japanese beetles are the small ones. They're like the size of a
No,
quarter.
Japanese beetles get pretty big and they start, they're disgusting.
Because I know we have grubs because the grubs, the moles come after. It's like the cycle of life. The grubs are in the ground. The moles come down from the neighbor's
eat the
yard
grub.
because he treats, and they come down to get the grubs, and then they eat our potatoes, and then we dig the potatoes in the fall, and you dig them out, and they have mole bites out of them, and it just irritates the heck out of me. And I put one of those. I'll tell you, I put one of those vibrating spikes.
Yeah.
Beeps, and it worked the first year, and then we put them in again last year, and it's like you could tell. We would see a mole. We'd be down working in the garden. We'd see a mole every now and then. I said to Bill, I think we put the stakes in too early. I think we needed to wait a little while. I think they got used to it. Wait a little
They
while.
did.
The
I
grubs
tried
are-
everything in my last home. One time I said to my husband, "I need you to start peeing in a jar for me." He goes, "Why?" I said, "I want to put it down the hole." And then one time I tried firecrackers. Then one time I hooked a hose to the back of my truck and tried doing that way. I went nuts.
You're an
really-
assassin.
I was Groundhog Day. I was going crazy over them.
That's
fire-
hilarious.
Don't
I
piss
swear
Kathy
to
off.
God. Get those Japanese traps. They have this, they sell out early. There's a lure. They're
Yeah, the
yellow.
bags.
They do work.
But the
Yeah.
big ones don't get in there. And ours, the big ones did not get in there, just the small ones.
Okay, because they do work. And after a while, between that and my cat and castor oil, my neighbor says he used to have a million grubs and everything else until I brought my cat here and the cat eats them all. You eat a cat.
I even tried the cans that you put beer, you like take a tuna can and put beer in it.
That's for
and
slugs.
supposedly And you put it in the ground, you put it just right ground level, and supposedly the grubs will go in there. Well, they didn't.
That's
Well, that's for
slugs.
slugs. Slugs,
That's
you
for
take a
slugs.
pie
Oh, slugs,
can
that's right, that's right.
for
Yeah.
slugs.
Yeah.
But the grubs are a pain, and then
Yeah,
the
but you
mold
should-
come.
You should have seen me with the voles one year. I went completely out of my mind.
I'm
Hair
sure.
out of all of our brushes. Give me all the hair. I stuck them down the hole. Oh, I was crazy.
So how did
Firecrackers.
you
Did
ever
you
get
try
rid of them?
Irish Spring?
I tried the Irish Spring. I've tried it all.
So did you finally get rid of them or not?
No.
I don't have problems with moles. I have problems with groundhogs.
That'll
Takes a
Big
22.
groundhog.
be a gun.
Yeah, done. That's all.
Tried
That's
that.
what-
We've eliminated a couple that way, but there's so many holes.
You
that
ever
I've gotta
eaten
watch.
groundhog?
Huh?
You
They're
ever
good if
eaten
they're young.
groundhog? It's good.
No,
Yes,
Barbecue.
barbecue sauce.
Mhm.
My husband's
Barbecue in a
grandmother
slow
loved them.
cooker. Yeah. The best meat, cleanest meat. All they do,
Really?
they don't eat
Yeah, they are
anything but vegetarian.
vegetarian.
They're
Yeah,
veggies.
they're veggies.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
So what do you all use for like treating your pests? Like
Vinegar.
tomato hornworms and the army worms and the beetles? Do you use like
Everything-
Dawn dish soap or?
And Dawn dish soap, vinegar, and Epsom salt.
See you, Cindy. Yeah.
Mixed together?
Yes, I'll post the recipe. I do it all summer long. In fact, during the
Okay.
winter on my stone driveway, I don't mind putting the salts down because the salts help kill the weeds.
And